Well, what's going on with me is I am finally trying to clean out my garage and storage space and everything and stop being a hoarder. Um,
Yeah.
so,
Now there's
yeah.
just shit all over my office.
Well, yeah, you saw trying to reduce them.
It's slowly going down.
My wife was really surprised that I sold 5 of those carts.
Yeah.
She was like, "How long did it take you?"
Yeah. Yeah, I was impressed too that some of them got sold. You sold a couple more this morning too, didn't you?
Not yet. The guy picked up the ones that he bought yesterday.
Gotcha. Well, actually, I have a question for you on this one. Do you remember your very first sale or your very first customer that you ever got?
No.
No?
No,
It's too long ago?
No, it was like 1991,
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which one, who it was, so unfortunately the answer is no.
Well, no worries. I do remember my first one. I can't say the client, but it was when I left my company, I had taken a bunch of clients with me. So my very first one that I secured myself was an oil services company. They did services for the oil and gas production here in Oklahoma, and he was way behind in taxes and filing, and I spent about a month and a half fixing his books and making them perfect and doing all the stuff. It was a nerve-wracking first month. I remember being super nervous, meeting him for the first time, having anxiety attacks before the meeting, trying to get, to secure my first client. So anyway, I just couldn't remember. I didn't know if you remembered your very first one.
No, I really didn't. It's just friends in the pool room.
Yeah.
They basically said I was showing off my pool cue case that I did for myself, and
Mm-hmm.
one guy says, "Can you do one for me?" And I was like, "I guess so."
And a business was born.
And that's how it was born. So that's how we speak of those accidental businesses sometimes where
Yeah.
you weren't really trying. Maybe kind of somewhere in there you were thinking maybe I can make a business out of it, but it really was more accidental and impulsive than it was planned. So I do have a question though, because like in your business, you're handling people's finances. You got to make sure that that everything's correct, and how big of a responsibility do you feel? Like you said, you were getting nervous for that. It was your first big client, right? But were you nervous about the responsibility of handling finances, or just nervous about the fact that you don't want to make any mistake because this guy's your first client?
Yeah, a little of both. It was nerve-wracking when I first started out because there's a lot in the tax code. There's a lot in bookkeeping. There's just a lot of information you have to have. The rules change every year. The tax law updates, things adjust. And keeping up with all that was very difficult in my first couple of years. I probably didn't have as much experience as I needed to start my own company, but I was tired of working for people. So I did my best. And now I fly through stuff because I'm pretty savvy with, the software I'm using. But when I first started, it took me hours to do work now that takes me 15 minutes, and I would double check everything, triple check everything, make sure I wasn't making any mistakes. Now, I know where to check make sure everything adds up, and then easy breezy.
Oh, good deal.
But, yeah, it is still a little bit nerve wracking. I mean, you give me a lot of responsibility over finances and making sure we're paying things on time, making sure licenses are up to date. A lot of clients give me a lot of responsibility and control over their lives, and so it is a big responsibility, and I take it very seriously. So
should they?
Yeah, it's if you find somebody you trust, absolutely. And I do a really good job. At least I think I do a really good job. I work really hard to make sure I know what I'm doing and not screwing people over, and I'm honest. One of my biggest, I think, reasons that clients like me is that if I do make a mistake, which happens, everybody makes mistakes, that I always own up to it right away. I don't try to cover it up. I say, look, I messed up. Here's how we're fixing it. My apologies, and try to work it out from there.
Yeah, I can't stand that when people don't just, because the best way to do that is just to own up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Say, okay, it was done. Let's figure out how to fix it and move on, and that's one thing that my employees sometimes will try to come up with excuses, and I'm like, guys, I'm the excuse king. Believe me, I've used them all. I've tried them all, and that's not the way to live. The way to live is just admit it, let's fix it, and move on. Learn from it.
Fair enough.
It's like that old story about the guy back in the '60s, one of the IBM bigwigs, like a vice president or something, made a huge mistake. It was something that cost the company like $500,000 or something like that, which seems quaint now, but back in the '60s, that's quite a bit.
That's a lot of money.
And so the CEO was interviewed, and apparently this mistake was public enough, that the news had a hold of it and everything. So he was asked. He said, "Are you going to fire that person?" Right? And apparently the CEO said, "Why would I fire him? I just spent $500,000 training him."
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it.
So.
Yeah. All right. I'm Scott Hess, tax and business consultant.
I'm John Barton, small business owner. Remember the tortoise and the hare? Slow and steady wins the race.
We started Turtlesmith to help people start small businesses, providing information and resources to small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Build a solid foundation and forge your dreams.
Well, the reason I asked you about first customers is that's what our topic is today. We're on our next step in phase 3, which is first customers. So how to get your very first customers in the door or signed up with your service or whatever it may be, depending on your business. So the first thing to discuss is the first impressions. First impressions really make a big difference for the first handful of customers, whether it's a retail store, you're doing something online, any way that you're interacting with your customers, you have got to be able to grab their attention and make a really good first impression. Otherwise, losing those first customers doesn't turn into new customers, because that's where your second, third, fifth, 10th customer is going to come from, is that first one referring it out to his friends.
The saying goes that a happy customer tells 10 people, and an unhappy one tells everyone.
Right, right. So customer types is what we want to get into first. This is kind of on the tech side of things. They talk about this, but it really kind of works for all businesses. But there are innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. And I kind of fall into that late majority or laggards category. I'm not really hip on the new stuff out there. But when you're thinking about getting your first customers in the door and you're thinking about your advertising, you need to target these groups of customers specifically. So 2.5% of the population are considered innovators, and they're the first people who are going to try your product. They're the first people who are going to try your brand new toy or try your restaurant first. They're the first person that's going to come into your store and just because they saw it and they're like, what is this? And they'll come check it out. So those kind of customers are the most important, because like you said, a happy customer tells 10. So if you can make those first innovators happy, they will leave you good reviews. They will get out there and tell the other customers or friends and family all about your shop or what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the internet is really big on that now. So there are some channels. One of them, I believe, is a tech channel. The guy's pretty famous. It's called, I think it's Marcus Brownlee, or Marquise Brownlee. And I had ordered a gadget, right, called a rabbit. It's supposed to be a artificial intelligence kind of companion or assistant, and for some reason, the way the presentation of it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You just talk to it and it comes back and tells you, so you kind of have a Star Trek vibe to it.
Okay. As like a little chat GPT bot in it or something?
Yeah, something like that. It had it under it. And then they had kind of a new sort of AI that they had created, to do it, that they had named. Anyway, this was something I saw, and I think I saw it maybe on Kickstarter or something similar to that. Mm-hmm. And I thought, $200, yeah, no problem. I'll go ahead and do it. Looks great, right? Well, I get the thing, right? And it's terrible. But the thing is that I didn't bother after I ordered it, right, to go look and see any reviews of people after it came out and see what they were saying.
Yeah.
And Marcus Brownlee, had it on his, and he just eviscerated this thing. And so I thought to myself, that's one situation where maybe I shouldn't have been such an early adopter, or I guess in your group, an innovator, because it was really just a $200 paperweight, and then they didn't want to give me my money back on it.
Yeah.
So we went through a little bit on that, but they ended up refunding me. But that was one where it was designed, I think, to really go for people like me, who are willing to give new tech a chance and kind of gadget nerds, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
And I felt really deceived by it.
Yeah.
So there's the high that you get from being an early adopter of stuff like that, and then the low you get when you get disappointed.
Right.
So there are a lot of people, I think, that kind of have the wisdom, I will say, or the patience to wait and kind of let version 1 kind of work out all the bugs before they jump in.
Well, that is the majority of the population. Majority of people will wait. So that 2.5% of the population that's considered innovators, they're the ones who are going to give you a shot with very little information just because they're risky or really want to try something new. The next step is the early adopters, like you talked about there. They're slightly slower than the innovators, but they're going to be some of your very first customers, maybe your 10th or 11th customers coming in the door. They like to do new things, but they do need a review or a couple advertisements or, see that you really have a decent product. The next stage after that is called the early majority, and that is 34% roughly of the population. These customers are the ones that do take a little convincing. They're the ones who wait for the Marquise Brown or Marcus Brown to show whether the product's any good or not, and then they'll buy into it. They need some reviews. They need maybe even a referral from somebody to actually get there, or see your advertisement a few times before they're excited to get in your door. The next category, which is again 34%, is the late majority, and this is where I kind of fall into. These are customers who need some real convincing. I like to see things that are, proven, that people have tried it. I've already missed the fad most of the time. I still don't own a Stanley Cup, but I'm considering it at some point. But they really want to see steady, good reviews before they'll actually spend their hard-earned money. And that's one of the tougher groups to break into. Once you can get past the early majority, if you can start getting those late majority people, you've really got a good business that has a strong chance to survive. And then the last group is the 16%. They're the hardest. They're called the laggards. These customers, they do not like new things. They like to do things that they've done all the time. They eat at the same restaurant every week. They're not going to come to your place without some real convincing. So it's a tough group to get. But those are kind of the 5 groups of customers that you'll see basically for any business,
So I don't think that most small business owners even bother to look up that type of demographics and think about their customers in those ways.
Yeah, well, not only think about your ways, but you also want to adjust your approach. Your advertising, your marketing approach, how you're getting customers in the door, how you're treating your customers, all different depending on what kind of stage of your business you're in.
So what I would say to that right there is that, for me, just based on what you've said right there, the most important thing would be just really go overboard on testing and role playing, training. Make sure that you are ready for those early adopters who are going to take a chance on you, because they're taking their time to come in and hang with you and try your restaurant or try your product and your service. And I guess today it's just all about phrases for me, but it goes back to that saying where you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Right.
The best shows that we've ever had have been the ones where I've taken the time to map everything out, to get the team together, to role play so that everybody's on top of it with the information. Nobody's running around going, where is that thing? Who's got the credit card reader?
Right.
Stuff like that. Everything's got its place. Where we're not forcing people to be uncomfortable, right? Because people come to a show, for example, one of my shows. I say my shows, but a show like a pool tournament or a pool show.
Mm-hmm.
They've got, if they're playing in the tournament, they've got a schedule. They've got other things. There might be other demonstrations that they want to go see that they don't want to miss. So they don't have a lot of extra time to spend in your booth after they've made the decision to purchase something. So making them sit there and wait for 15 or 20 or 30 minutes while you're trying to figure out how to take their money diminishes the experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and you really want to have a great experience for the innovator section and the early adopters, because those are also the people who are most likely to write reviews and most likely to write the negative reviews if you do not give a good experience.
And I think it's also very important to make sure that you ask customers, especially in the beginning, you literally, like right then you say, how was your experience? Did we do everything okay? Did we satisfy you? Was there anything that we could do better?
How often do you think customers are honest with that answer, though? I feel like if I was asked that, I'd kind of be like, it was fine, even if it was terrible.
Well, so I find that if I tell the customer, that we're brand new and we're really trying, and that even though we've tried to think of everything, we know that we are only looking at it from our side, and it's even when we want to put ourselves in the customer's place, we're still kind of not really there, because we're also thinking about it from the service side. So when I say it like that to customers, then they become a collaborator in building my business.
Oh, that's clever. That's maybe even add
they
a
feel
little
valued.
Maybe even add a little self-deprecation in there, so it's okay for them to say something negative.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Look, I'm positive that we didn't do everything right, despite our best efforts. So please, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you'll tell me how to improve. If you like what we did, you're going to want us to be around a year or two from now.
Right.
So
that makes a lot of sense. We talk about that later too in the feedback loop, but that's a good idea to start that right away with your customers.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're going to kind of mention is the difference between like a grand opening and soft opening. This is really for an actual retail storefront. You can kind of have a grand opening online, but really when you're online, you're just putting yourself out there as quick as you can. If you have a storefront, or you have a service, or you have a process that you have to do a lot of work for, or there's an experience for customers, it is a great idea to decide whether you want to do a soft opening before your big launch. And I always recommend, especially restaurants, they'll do like a friends and family night. They'll maybe even do a soft opening before their grand opening. Retail stores, same thing. Have that friends and family come in to really eviscerate things, so you can get them fixed up. Have a little bit of a soft opening to make sure your processes are in place. I did that when I kind of started my business, my bookkeeping, accounting, payroll firm. I had just a handful of clients. They were not enough, but I took a month or so to make sure that I was doing their stuff correctly, and I had all my ducks in a row before I started advertising to new clients. But a soft opening is really the ticket to make sure that your customer experience for those innovators and early adopters and kind of all your ducks are in a row to make sure you're not screwing anything up. You've got everything you need. You're making a good first impression. Everything's good.
I can almost guarantee that any new business is going to forget some things.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There are going to be, no matter how many lists you make, no matter how much, delegation you've done, there's going to be something that either was just plain forgotten, off the list, or was forgotten to be put on the list. There are going to be things that everyone else thought that everyone else was handling. And that's where your soft openings come in, because when that grand opening comes in, those people that show up, those are your early adopters. Those are your innovators.
Mm-hmm. And they're the ones writing reviews and telling people about you.
They're the ones that want to be the first one in the door. Mm-hmm. That's they want to have that first experience, right? And
When they want to tell people about it too.
exactly,
Especially for like stores, like retail stores and restaurants, but even services as well. Like if they can, they have that inside track. They like, I went there before you did, and I'm
Right.
telling you about it. So it's
exactly that's exactly why they do it. And here's the thing with that is, you never know who, when people are walking through the door, not everybody walking through your door has the best of intentions. Some people consider themselves to be some kind of critic, right?
Right.
And that's all they do is go in looking for things to criticize publicly, because we pay attention to that stuff. We remember Siskel and Ebert, the movie critics, and so we kind of like the Schadenfreude that comes with critical reviews. So that's another reason why you want to do everything you can to be on top of your game when that grand opening comes in, because now these are the people that you don't know.
Right.
And you're trying to be impressive, you're trying to be good, but you are going to get those people in there that are going to, they really are going to look for everything that they can be critical of, because that's how they entertain themselves, And another thing, it's not necessarily a bad thing that they do this, right? It's just that they're just one more character in the spectrum of characters in life.
Right. Right. The grand opening, the two kind of disasters that can occur is, first, nobody can show up, and then the second one is way too many people can show up and you just can't handle the volume. So to fix that kind of latter problem, that's the reason you have that soft opening. You make sure that you can handle the volume of customers if the grand opening goes very well. And for the first problem of nobody showing up, that's where your advertising comes in. And so you really need to think carefully about your advertising at the very beginning and how you're going to be approaching customers. I say that it's a little bit of a game when you do your first initial advertising, because you don't want to, you're not a brand yet, you're not big enough, so you don't want to put out there, oh, we'll be open in like 6 weeks and then 5 weeks and then 4 weeks. If you're too far out, people get a little grumpy. But if you're not far out enough, maybe enough people don't hear about you before your actual opening. So you got to really think carefully about when to start advertising in that initial campaign.
I'm going to say that I don't think there's any kind of magic formula for this.
No. It's a guessing game.
And, I've heard of people actually hiring crowds.
Yep.
For that type of thing, to make it feel a little bit special.
Yeah, it's kind of like the clubs. They like to keep a line going outside just so it seems more busy than it actually is.
So, I don't know if that's a bad thing or not, to hire a crowd. But what I do know is that whenever your real customers get in the door, you need to be ready to go to help to make sure that everything goes without a hitch. What did we just say? Oh, it was the advertising, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's I have tried over the years with the shows and things like that, so many different ways, so many schemes to get people, to come in the booth. I've tried discounting, I've tried free shirts. I mentioned the free shirt one that we did where I traded people shirts for their opinions.
Right. Yep.
That one probably was the best one ever, but it was really on the fly, that happened. And I can't take real good credit for, I can take credit for doing it, but not for coming up with it, because it was literally just the old radio station advertising. If they spot you with the radio station bumper sticker, then you win $100 or a free car or whatever, right?
Right.
If you call in 10 minutes.
Right.
But that one worked pretty well. But as far as advertising to get people to the booth, one year we rented a skybox, which was, just like it sounds. It's, a suite, above the arena. And which was pretty cool because you could see out. And
there was like a convention going on.
Yeah, it was like a convention. But the way the big pool tournaments go is there's like 100, 150 tables, out there, and it's like a couple football fields worth of pool tables.
I mean, wild.
And it is, the first time you see it, it's really impressive. I mean, I've actually never not been impressed by it every show that I've gone to for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because it's a massive undertaking to put up, several hundred pool tables and make sure they're all level and lighting is good and everything. And because these people are traveling across the country to come compete, this is the pinnacle of their year, and they don't want to get on a table that's not performing correctly.
Tilted slightly.
Yeah, and that it happens, But these guys they only got 2 days to get in there and get all these pool tables up and ready to go before people start showing up.
Right.
So anyway, but we decided that we were gonna do a skybox for the show instead of doing a regular booth down on the floor, right? Mm-hmm. So we were sitting there thinking, how can we get people to know that we even exist, right? So we ended up making these like arrows, like inside the arrow. They were about yay big, right? And we put them on the floor. And then in the arrow, it was saying, hey, come see us in the skybox, and fun and prizes or whatever, right? And that actually worked pretty good for about a day and a half until the cleaners were running their vacuums and their carpet cleaner over the thing, and it was gumming up their machines. And then the hotel came and complained. And I was like, well, I guess I should have thought about that one a little bit better, and maybe asked for permission before I did it.
I don't know. It's kind of the old saying: it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yeah,
might as well just go for it. But I bet you also have a bunch of equal stories about advertising or marketing thoughts that failed miserably.
Oh, much more. Much more. It's
so you kind of just have to figure it out for your own business.
Yeah. Pool tournaments is one. We were talking about that a little bit before the thing. I'm always trying to come up with interesting ways to do pool tournaments that can attract more people, and I feel like that a lot of times I just end up overcomplicating it, and people don't want to read through all that.
Right.
So that's one where I start out with good intentions, but I really just overload people with information. And as a result, they don't show up because they just don't want to keep all that in their mind.
Right. Well, the soft opening, grand opening, and kind of the advertising we talked about so far is really targeted towards brick and mortar stores or like an online store or something like that. If you have a service or you have a business-to-business product, there's really only one thing you can do to get those first customers, and that's cold calls. You have got to just get in front of people who need your product. I sort of hit the road. I looked up as many small businesses that were kind of in my niche, and I just went to people's businesses and handed my card off and said, if you guys need bookkeeping help, payroll help, accounting, I'm here. Tried to get through to see the bosses, failed thousands of times for every one yes I got. But there's just no substitute for getting in front of people, either calling or better yet, showing up in person if you can. And that's really the only way to get customers as a service-based or business-to-business company. And the last thing that we're going to talk about in your first customer's deal is follow-up. And we talked a little bit about the feedback loop and getting some feedback from your customers. You have to follow up. You have to follow up again, and you have to follow up again until somebody basically just tells you to kick rocks and get away from them. But you have to keep after people when you're trying to get those first customers, to the extent that maybe you even piss them off a little, But that's the only way to get people to use your business or give you money. You got to get in front of them. You got to tell them what you're about and try to convince them to spend their hard-earned money at your business.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think, again, that's one of those things where you really, well, first of all, you need to practice. You need to know how you sound coming over to other people. Mm-hmm. There's a cue maker that I really admired, and he came up with a slogan one time for his company. I don't know if he originated it or not, but anyway, I just remember it being associated with him. And so the slogan was, "Passion is a hard thing to conceal."
There you go.
So, in my mind, right, if you are a true believer in what it is that you're selling or offering as a service, and you know that it's solid, right? Because there are a lot of people that sell snake oil, and they can come off as true believers in their snake oil. So
yeah.
So I'm not advocating that. I'm saying that once you know that your product or service is solid, then you have to figure out how to bring it over to people as a true believer, Because what you want to do is you want to transfer your passion about what it is that you're doing to them. And you want to back it up by giving them the stellar service or a great product.
Yeah, or at least a little piece of that passion.
Yeah.
You know?
Because this is what I call people that take what you believe about your own product, find out that it's true, and are willing to tell other people. I call those people product evangelists.
Yeah.
Right? And you can't buy them. You have to earn them.
Yep.
Now, people try to buy them with influencers and things like that, but, people get jaded as well, right? So if everyone knows, that if you're paying an athlete, Kobe Bryant, doesn't, probably is not a big fan of Wheaties or something, but he becomes a bigger fan if he's getting $1 million a commercial.
Right.
So that becomes a lot harder to convince people that the recommendation is really real. That's more about just gaining attention for the product,
Yeah.
But I find that the best advertising for products, and we hear this all the time, is word of mouth, but it's not just word of mouth. When somebody believes in your product as much as you believe in your product, I think that's the pinnacle of word of mouth.
Yeah. And those type of people are typically your innovators or your early adopters, the first ones to try your product. So if you can get them happy, they'll just spread the word like crazy.
Yeah. And don't make the mistake that I have made. So I have made a mistake, many times over, where I have people like that who believe in my product and they've been really great customers. And then I find that at times I've neglected them, Now, that doesn't mean, that you have to take their call at every hour of the day, and expect that they can take over your life, because I've had a few customers like that. They feel like if they're a product evangelist, then that also means that they have your,
undivided
24-hour a day access to you.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you have to strike a little bit of a balance there. And once in a while, I've had to set boundaries. But, I will say, and I will admit this, is that, there have been times when, for no other reason other than just being lazy or disrespectful of their activity, that I have ignored them, and I've treated them badly. And a lot of times they'll tolerate that because they like you so much. But just don't ever take those people for granted. So don't make that mistake, because if I have regrets and I have guilt about my business, it is the fact that I have let some of those customers kind of fade away, because I didn't continue to give them the service that they should have been getting.
Well, that's a great point. I think that's a great point to end the segment on. Any other thoughts on your first customers?
Just remember that, once again, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So give everything you've got to making that first impression golden.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, we'll move on to our next segment, I guess.
This episode is sponsored by JB Cases. JB Cases is a pool cue case company specializing in custom cases. They have been in business since 2007, and their motto is true protection, true durability, true comfort, and true custom. Visit them at jbcases.com.
Well, in this segment, we're going to be talking about loyalty programs, app signups, and referral programs. What are your general thoughts on loyalty programs, app programs? Are you just a rewards member everywhere, or do you hate it?
I think they're a pain in the ass to keep up with.
Yeah.
I don't generally have them or follow them. I'm one of those people that I will sign up for them, if maybe there's an initial discount or something like that I want to get.
Yeah.
But then I will never go back and see how many points I have or, see what I can get,
Yeah, I'm not very good at that either. I do sign up for the loyalty programs. I like places that I frequent, but not that many.
I like Marco's Pizza is one of my favorites for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because every time I go to order pizza from them, they are very good at reminding me what I have, what I've built up as far as any loyalty or coupons or anything like that. Even if I don't have coupons, they apply them anyway.
Right.
So that kind of one I like, where they're proactive about telling me.
Mm-hmm.
What I've been disappointed on sometimes is I will find like a gift card or a loyalty card or something like that I got, or I will be browsing my email, and then I'll get an email from one of the companies that I deal with, and they will say something like, oh, you need to book a vacation with your loyalty points. So then I'll go look it up, and I find that my points have expired, and I'm like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
So that disappoints me.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm a big fan of referral programs. I use referrals here at my office. If people bring me new clients, I typically give them a little bit of a discount. But I'm a big fan of rewarding customers for bringing you more business. So I think that's a no-brainer across the board, no matter what you're in. Bring a friend and it's buy one, get one free, or 10% discount to the customer already if he brings somebody else in, stuff like that.
So I also like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my first brand, I created a website where I also had that as a thing, where you could give away. Everyone had this was long before affiliates came in.
Yeah.
So it was sort of an affiliate type of program. But basically, every customer had their own code that they could tell their friends to put in, and when their friends put it in,
that's cool.
So what it was this: every time that someone put in their code, they would get a credit, and then every month we paid out the credit. So towards the thing, we didn't pay out cash, but we said you have this much to spend on a case. So if you got enough for a pool cue case, you could buy it, or you could apply your credits to another purchase.
Right.
And we also made it where you could transfer your credits. If you wanted to gift them to someone else, you could do that.
Well, now that's overly generous. I like that though.
Yeah, but I feel this way about it. I feel like if you've earned it, right?
You can do whatever you want with
It's your money, right? It's your credit to do what you want with it. So I am not a fan of those places that are really restrictive on that. You can't transfer it, because basically all they're using it as a gimmick.
Right. Rather than an actual reward, which is what it should be.
Exactly. That's exactly how I thought about it. Now, as a small business, I found back then that it was really kind of difficult to keep up with, even though that we had programmed it in the software. It just was still kind of wonky.
Yeah, it didn't quite work.
Nowadays, there are tons and tons and tons of good programs out there that will set these rewards up any which way you want to set it up.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that it's a good idea to do, as long as you pay attention to being fair with your customers, being clear with them, and being diligent about it. And if you're proactive with telling your customers that they have it to spend, don't ever let it expire. I can't stand that, then I think that you can do very well with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think referral programs for a brand new business is a no-brainer to have some kind of referral program. I think it helps those early adopters and innovators that we talked about earlier in the episode. It helps them be able to spread the word.
Sure.
And it says, hey, it gives them an incentive to bring you more customers, which is really great.
We have a friends and family, so basically if we basically give 10% if you're a repeat customer, and we just call it a repeat customer discount.
Yeah.
And we allow people to extend that to their friends and family.
Yeah.
If they place the order, then it can go through that, and they get it. We also kind of have a don't ask, don't tell type of thing too with that. So if we are not super proactive in telling customers, even though I said earlier, you should be proactive in telling people what their rewards are. That's for rewards that they've earned, for things like that. But we don't go out of our way to offer those discounts But if someone asks us about it, which we say it clearly on our site, if they ask us about it, we'll give them the code, let them use it, no problem.
Well, I think we're in agreement then. We both love referral programs when done properly. What about loyalty programs? I am not a huge fan of the nonsensical point systems where you have to keep track and pay attention and use them the correct way or you lose them and expire. I think that there's a right way to do loyalty programs, and most people do it incorrectly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that's new. You know, back in the day, we used to have the punch cards.
I still have go to a couple places that have punch cards, and I think they're great. But I do get that probably sometimes you get ripped off once in a while.
So loyalty programs or the ones that ask you to buy, a certain amount of service visits or something like that in advance.
Yeah.
To keep you loyal to their brand because they want you coming back, of course, and so they're going to give you a discount up front if you pay for like 6 months worth of service or a year or something like that.
I love that too.
Those are great, except when, as you said a moment ago, when people do it wrong, and I'll give you a real good example of it being done wrong.
Oh yeah, please do.
I went to an acupuncturist, and they sold me on like 10 visits, gave me like a 20% discount if I bought 10 visits. And I just got a call last month and they said, hey, the year, it's been a year since you bought, it's coming up on a year since you paid for this. And our rules are that if you don't use it within a year, you lose it. So they're basically telling me, because I went like 4 or 5 times, right? So they're basically telling me that I'm going to lose, 6 visits, and they're just going to keep the money. And I can't see that any other way than just theft.
Yeah. No, that's terrible.
Yeah.
A terrible way to run. So I think as a small business, you don't have to get crazy about your loyalty program. You don't have to have some kind of elaborate app or point system to really make it work. Just something simple is really the ticket. And I'm also not a big fan of the new customer discounts either. I don't know how you feel about that. I always see on the phone bills, the phone companies, they're always advertising, switch over and you get a new iPhone 14. That. But I've been a customer at that place for 10 years. Like, where's my new phone?
I hate that. It's discriminatory, and it's again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier when we were talking about, early adopters or innovators. And when I was saying that I have been guilty of neglecting some of those customers, and not treating them great, years down the road. And to me, that's the exact same thing, right? If you're loyal to a company and you've been with them a long time, and they come out with this super great deal for new customers, and you're like, hey, I'd like that deal too. Oh, sorry, you're not a new customer. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think they should reward the customers that have been with them a long time a little bit better than they've rewarded the new customers.
I agree with that entirely. One new customer thing, though, that I'd like to shout out is actually a place here. It's Tamashi Ramen. You've been there before, haven't you? The ramen joint?
I don't remember if I have or not.
So they have a couple locations here in the Oklahoma City area, but I've never really tried ramen before I went to this place. And I went there with my partner, and we were eating, and the manager came over, and she just, oh, is this your first time here? And she gave us a little card, and we got like a deal that said free appetizer on your second visit. So the next time we go, we get a free app. Well, we liked our food, and we went back, and we gave them the card, and they were like, great. And they scratched that up, and like, next time you come, you get a free dessert. And they did that about 4 times for us. We kept getting free crap every time we'd come back. And so I just kept going like every weekend for like a month or 2. It was great. And I think that's a good way to reward new customers over nonsensical, like big discounts, just something simple that entices you to come back.
No, and I think that's a brilliant way to do it, because it's a small thing. It's a nice little hook. It's not overly complicated, not complicated at all. And it definitely makes you think about it when you're talking about, where do you want to go eat?
Yeah, well, I had the card in my wallet, and so then, one time when we were out to dinner and I was paying, I was like, oh, I forgot I had this Tamashi thing. Let's go tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
simple
simple stuff like that is a great way, and it does not cost you that much, as a business. And now I'm a repeat customer to that place because I really like their noodles. So
that's a good way to do it. I like that.
I think it was great. Apps for your loyalty program or apps in general for your business, I hate most of them. I don't sign up for them. Most of them suck. If you're going to try to do it for your business, make sure it's really good, but I don't agree with them at all. Do you use any company apps?
Man, once in a while, I had the McDonald's app on one,
Yeah.
on that for a while, and my girls use the Starbucks app all the time.
Oh, that's why you're going broke.
But dude, I tell you, man, I need to bring the girls in so you can sit them down for a talk with that, because
Yeah.
they need to learn some financial literacy.
Yeah, well, or just put them to work and see how much that, $15 an hour, or $10 an hour, how much that Starbucks work takes.
My girls are too bougie at this point, right? They're like,
You spoiled
like,
them.
yeah, that's it. Because they're like, they literally want to negotiate their salary, and then after we've done the negotiation, they're like, how much do we have to work again?
Yeah.
But in general, yeah, too many things. There's an app for that, and it just gets to be a little bit too much sometimes.
Yeah.
If you're gonna have an app, I'm gonna go back to Marco's.
Yeah.
Theirs is so great the way that they run you through it.
Marco's Pizza.
Yeah.
Are they everywhere? Or are they just here in the Oklahoma area?
I don't know exactly where they are. I don't remember if I saw one in Vegas or not.
We look that up for us, will you, Calvin, while we're shooting the shit?
But I was glad that I found them. Because I had never seen them anywhere else but Oklahoma until we got to Oklahoma.
I like them. I think they're great.
And I do like their product, but more importantly, I really do like using their website and their app because they have really gone the extra mile to make it really easy and painless. And as I said, when you get to the end of your order and you find out that they've stacked a whole bunch of coupons on there, you're like, I feel like sometimes when I order from them, it's like, congratulations, we've applied this coupon. Now you own a Marco's franchise.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Hey, look, he just brought up the map. They got them everywhere. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. So anyway, yeah, if you're gonna do some kind of an app or something like that for your loyalty
They
program,
even got one in Puerto Rico. Look at that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That was shocking.
Then I would say make absolutely sure that this thing is painless and nice to use, because nothing will annoy a customer more than being forced to jump through hoops to get a reward or a discount or something like that.
A minor inconvenience will lose you a customer. It
Yeah.
doesn't even have to be like a big one. A big inconvenience you can usually talk and smooth over, but too many little minor inconveniences, they're just going to be like, I'm done with this nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, I had a pretty big meeting the other day to try to explain to a company that's basically building a new website for me.
Mm-hmm.
We have a designer on there, and they had sent me a mock-up of a user interface.
Yeah.
And I went off. I was like, are you guys kidding me? After all the conversation we've had, do you think that this is any better in any way than what I've already got?
Right.
So I had to go back and explain to them and say, let's just look at this logically and start from the foundation, right? We can build any experience around a good logic, foundation. So as long as we make sure that the underlying products, the underlying presentation of those products, how they're put together, as long as that comes over like it's supposed to, all the math works, then we can build a nice, beautiful flow for the customer. But if we're starting out with trying to imagine a customer experience and then build the foundation afterward, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And so the companies I think that do the best with this type of stuff, they really do see good adoption of their loyalty programs, of their reward programs, their discounts, things like that. One company that I frequently go back to in our podcast is
What?
Uline.
Oh, Uline. Man, I love Uline.
Man, we would lose the newlywed game at this point.
Yeah,
Scott.
we would. We're not synced up. But yes,
Yeah.
Uline is great website, super intuitive, easy to find crap. You gotta like that place.
Yeah, and they're very good about telling you, hey, if you just order another $50 more, you'll jump up into the next category of gifts. And things like that. And
I need some more boxes or a dolly or something.
Something.
We can find something on there. I need.
I've got a lot of neat stuff around my house that all came from Uline.
Because you needed that extra $50.
Where I was incentivized to order another $500 worth of boxes.
Well, Chandler found us a cool little graph here on loyalty program membership, and I guess for 2022 is the last statistic he had here. 16.6% of your customers are an average in the loyalty program, but less than half of them actually use the loyalty program, which that does not surprise me, but it's crazy to actually see the graph here. Throughout the last 10 years, it looks like less than half use the loyalty programs that people actually set up.
It's just
once they've signed up.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, man. It's just like people have so much going on in their lives these days, and I think that these companies know this, right? This is something they count on. They know that people are going to accumulate points and not use them, So it's almost like free money for them, for the companies.
Yeah,
because they're not,
free advertising, I guess, isn't it? Or I don't know how you would look at it, because it's not really free money, because they're not like giving you money unless they steal it, like the acupuncture, thing.
Yeah, but you have to. I mean, I would look at it like this as a potential, right? So you kind of look at it as potential energy. So if we looked at that chart right there and we said that across the board, all of that was worth, all of that was worth, say, $1 billion in rewards, right? But only half of the people are actually using them. So that's $500 million of potential services and products that the companies would be spending.
Yeah.
If the customers would do it,
right?
So, in a sense, they're
brutal.
Free money. My apologies for that. We had it turned off earlier, but I turned it up to watch the shorts.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Right. I'll forgive you. I was gonna say we're only 20 episodes into this. What was the next one? I think that was the most common reasons why people hated loyalty programs, right? Yeah. What are the biggest frustrations with reward programs? And the first one, rewards that expire.
God, that kills me.
Yeah, what a nightmare.
No end, if anything, so I can understand that, and you maybe can elaborate on this, but to me, I could understand that maybe there's some cost associated with keeping these on the books.
I don't know. I don't know on those big companies how they do that. On a small company, yeah, you would have a real good record of like what you owed out. But I don't. For some of these larger companies, which is probably most rewards programs, I don't even know if it's a drop in their bucket. To be
right. I mean, I think that would be interesting to kind of find out, how they account for it. But that's the only way that I could see any justification for people losing their points, and the only way that I would accept it as a reasonable loss of points would be to say it cost us X amount of money, per card or whatever to keep this active every year. So therefore you're going to lose 1% of your points every year, until it's gone.
Yeah.
But I would never just arbitrarily take everyone's money away.
No, nonsensical.
Because if the idea behind this is to ensure loyalty, the customer that you steal from, they will never come back.
Yeah.
Or if they do, they're fools.
Fair enough.
I think Calvin told us a story about Pizza Hut where he finally had enough points for a couple pizzas, and he goes into Pizza Hut to redeem them, and they said, "Sorry, man, your points are gone."
Yeah.
We changed our menu or we changed something, right?
Yeah, and never ate there again.
Yeah.
Bunch of bastards.
Try Marco's.
Yeah.
Not only will your points not expire at Marco's, they'll just randomly double them.
Yeah, and
you'll walk out with like 4 pizzas.
The food's better too. The second reason, length of time it takes to earn rewards, that's the second biggest complaint. I think that's just a general complaint for everything. I wish most of the things I do didn't take so long. But the next one is more important. I think the value of rewards offered is too low. A lot of these rewards programs or loyalty programs, and the ones that I've done, it seems like you just get shit back. It's terrible. You know, like you have to spend $5,000 to get a free pizza at Pizza Hut before you actually get it, you know, or just the value you're getting back is nothing.
So we can look at that from the business side of it, though. Okay, so in one sense, we're looking at it from the consumer side with this chart, but looking at it from the business side, there is a cost to giving a discount, right? To giving things away, and there is a certain, you guys can look up the charts on this, but there's the idea of if you give away like 10% off, right? Then you have to sell so many more. You have to sell like 5 more things to make up the amount of profit that you lost.
I actually have a good example for that. Based on your profit margin. So if your profit margin is 30%, which is pretty typical for most companies, depending on what industry you're in, and you give a discount of 10%, you actually have to sell 70% more of your item just to make up that loss.
Yeah, so think about that. So from the business side of it, I can see where they're going to try to constantly manipulate that to make the reward seem bigger than it is, just because of how many more they're going to have to sell. But generally, those things are also tied towards. A lot of these programs are tied towards, like a discount off of something if you buy it, rather than just a straight up giveaway.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like the amount of points that you would have to acquire to get something based on points is going to cost you a lot of money, a ton of money. It's going to be a lot more than if you'd have just waited for a Black Friday sale or something.
Right. Well, there's a few other complaints in here, programs that require membership fee, lack of rewards that are relevant. I hate that one. I used to eat at the barbecue joint over here, and I think I have something like 50 free huge meals if I want them, over the last 5 years of eating at this place. But the thing that I like to get is not on the app. I can't use my points for what I want.
And that's crazy to me.
Right.
See, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's like I used to say that I had a girlfriend one time she worked for AT&T, but she was like in management, so upper management.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to talk about, once in a while we talk about the different discounts and things that they offer and how they put them all together and everything. And I made a comment to her one time. I said, I think that AT&T taught the devil how to write contracts.
Yeah.
Because it just seems to me that they must have a department that all they do all day long is figure out how they can write these enticements and these rewards and these discount structures and everything. And this was back in the day when it wasn't just unlimited text and everything.
Right.
So it was like you had these contracts where you had, you could get 100 texts a month, and then after that it was like $50 a text and stuff like that. And then of course you had parents going bankrupt, because their kids went over. And
I still remember people saying, "Don't call me right now. I wait till after 7, so I can get my nighttime minutes."
Yeah, exactly. And I think that they must have all these companies. They must have literal departments who sit around and just have a chart. If we do this, how can we take away this? And and make it seem like it's. I forget who it was that said this. It might have been Susie Orman or one of those financial gurus or something like that. But yeah. she said, what they give you in the big print, they take away in the small print.
Yeah. I think you've said that before. That's a good one.
And I feel like that's what a lot of these reward programs are. You know. And so, what did you say?
Lack of rewards relevant. Then there's a bunch of other ones. We'll put this chart
options.
up.
There's your barbecue one right there. Like that is just absolutely crazy to me. Why wouldn't everything on the menu just be there for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Loyalty programs they're hit and miss. Some of them are great. But most of them I feel like really just miss the mark. So you must be right. They must be doing some real heavy math trying to figure out exactly how they can get the best advertising but spend the least amount.
And there's another one right there. So value of rewards points seems to decrease over time.
Yeah.
So they definitely don't keep up with inflation. They're not giving you more, right?
Right.
So when you got your $10 worth of points for a free hamburger, next year, when the hamburger goes up to $15, then it's you no longer have a full hamburger. Now you have 2/3 of a hamburger.
Yeah.
So And also, we talk about them taking away points, or even some of them probably shave points off. I don't know. I've not run into that. I don't know. I don't have enough cards with loyalty points on it or keep up with it. However, let me say this, though. I am signed up with a group called Just Get Out of Town. JGoot is what they call themselves. And they are one of any number of similar types of groups that specialize in maximizing the reward points that you get for travel. Like, they go through every single one of these loyalty programs and contracts on every kind of credit card there is. They will tell you what the best cards are to get. They will tell you how best to use those cards.
Yeah.
And they are, all the research I've done on this organization leads me to believe that they are really real. Like, this is not a gimmick. They literally have, like, their members are able to do things like book a ticket coach, to Greece and upgrade to full first class through their points, without spending millions of dollars to get that.
There's some clever ones out there. I always see those deep discount shoppers. You ever seen those people where they bring stacks of coupons and
Oh yeah, I saw
stuff?
that. I saw
So
that the
there's definitely ways
what
to
do they
game
call
the system.
Yeah, they call that extreme couponing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But that do check out that JGoot.
That's a good one, yeah.
Just Get Out of Town.
Okay.
And basically it's great for someone unlike me, because
Yeah.
I'm too lazy to actually be diligently following it. But if you're the kind of person that will diligently follow the instructions, then I believe that you can definitely take advantage of a lot of these points and loyalty programs to enhance your travel.
Well, that's a good shout out. One thing I did want to ask you, as a business owner, what are your feelings about signups, like when you are at the register or you're buying something where you have to give like your phone number or email?
I just went through that yesterday. So I was at Harbor Freight, and they are incredibly consistent about asking you for that. And this was the first time that this happened to me at a Harbor Freight. So I don't know why, but I've just never wanted to give them my phone number and information or sign up for any of their programs. Not that I think it's bad or anything. I just have never, for some reason, it just never clicks with me. Yesterday, I said, they always ask you, say, what's your phone number? First thing they ask you, and I say I'm not signed up, and then she goes, well, would you like to be? And I said, no, I'm good, right? And she says, well, if you want to bring something back, and you want us to be able to help you, then we're going to need your phone number and your email. And I said, well, just give me the receipt. That should be enough, right? And she was like, no, we'll still need your phone number, which I know is bullshit because I've returned things at Harbor Freight before, and I don't even think it's legal that they require that. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a lawyer, but someone in the chat or in the comments can tell us. But it just rubbed me the wrong way. The way that she went about it,
Yeah.
being so aggressive, because I feel like that probably a lot of times the cashiers probably get a little bump if they sign people up, and I know
Probably.
that sometimes they do, because one sweet old lady at Home Depot, bless her heart, she looked like she was about 75 and still working there, so that's a sad commentary on our society, but maybe she wanted to. But anyway, she was so sweet about it, and she said, if you sign up for the loyalty program and the credit card, then it'll come as a package, and I'll get a little credit, for it. And so I thought to myself, sure, I'll do that for her,
Right.
just a way to help her. Not that I really wanted it.
Right.
And as it turns out, that has actually saved me money on our recent renovation. I got 10% off the whole thing, so.
Nailed it.
That was literally worth $3,000 to me,
Yeah.
over the course of 2 months.
See, as a consumer, I hate it. I hate giving my phone number and I hate giving my email. But as a business owner, I want all of my customers' information all the time so that I can email them or contact them if I need anything or to tell them about stuff. So I kind of see it both ways.
So at Chester's, for example, I've been collecting the emails and phone numbers of the people who participate in our tournaments.
Uh-huh.
Because I feel like that if we can contact them directly when we have a tournament, then I don't have to worry about whether Facebook has presented it to them in their feed or not.
Oh, okay.
So I just recently, we talked about I'm selling these carts, these hospital carts.
Yep.
So I put them up on Facebook Marketplace, right? And the only people that I got that were interested in them were bots and scammers. Um, until I paid Facebook $30 for more reach, so $10 a day. Then I started getting actual people coming back, and we sold 5 carts, and then now I've got a couple more people interested because I went ahead and did it again. So basically, sometimes it's worth it to pay for or take that extra effort to get that information from the customers that will give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be careful that you don't overuse it and don't spam them.
Yeah.
But yes, collecting information from your customers. Let me give you one more example of that real quick, okay, if you don't mind.
Feel free.
So it has become increasingly difficult to fill up tournaments, pool tournaments. So, Latha, Kansas, they run pool tournaments, and they almost always have a waiting list. But we were sitting around talking about this and how they come to do this. The way they do it is they collect the emails, they collect the phone numbers from people that attend their tournaments, and then starting out about 6 months prior to one of their big tournaments, they will start announcing it. And 3 months in, they will start sending emails to people and saying, "Hey, we have a big tournament coming up." And as a result, it keeps it fresh in people's minds. They know that they're actually contacting people who have attended their tournaments before, so a captive audience. And it literally results in them having a pretty healthy waiting list by the time the tournament comes around, and they never have to worry about it being full.
Well, that's nice.
That's a good use of...
I think the ticket for me is when I sign up, I want them to tell me why I'm giving them my number. If they have a good spiel about it's going to benefit me in some way, or they're going to be able to let me know about new products, or I'm going to get a discount or something like that, I'm fine to sign up. But if you just say, I need your phone number because you can't return anything, like that nasty Harbor Freight lady, that's bullshit, or just ask me randomly why you need it. I feel like if you have a good little incentive or a bonus, or we'll make sure to let you know about new products that come in that might interest you or something like that, then I'm a little more inclined to sign up, and I'm a little happier about it. And I'm not so annoyed when I see the email or text.
If Harbor Freight said to me, randomly we just give members a tool.
Yeah.
A little razor or whatever it is, right? Just for walking in the door if you're part of our membership program, right? Mm-hmm. That would be enough for me.
Yeah.
Right? It'd be cool. Maybe I get a little prize once in a while.
Or even we'll just let you know when there's a sale happening.
Exactly.
Yeah, then I'm down for it. But just forcing them to sign up just to interact with your system, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we covered that pretty good. As a small business owner, just be careful about your referral loyalty and signups, because I think they can do a lot of good, but those little minor inconveniences can really turn customers off. So you got to be careful in what you set up.
Yeah, just make sure that it's fair and it's good and that you can afford it, because once again...
Yeah, don't forget that discounts
It's
cost you
so
money.
easy. It's so easy to think to yourself, I'll just give a 10 or 15 or 20% discount and not know your numbers well enough and end up having to sell 10 more units to make up for that one discount you gave to that one customer.
Yep.
And that's an easy way for your profits to start leaking out. So maybe get with AT&T and ask them how to write contracts.
Yeah. Figure their system out. They figure out how to nickel and dime you to death.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by JB Cases. JB Cases is a pool cue case company specializing in custom cases. They have been in business since 2007, and their motto is true protection, true durability, true comfort, and true custom. Visit them at jbcases.com.
Well, next we're going to close this with what impressed us. So do you have a good story, or you want me to lead it
I would
off?
like you to start with this one.
So I have a good story, I think, about resilience and just an individual who really impressed me. I can't mention his name or his business, but he owned a small little retail shop, and he was really excited. It was kind of a niche product that was a passion. And we helped him get it all set up and get all the licensing and everything that he needed. And he got into a location, and the city decided that his type of business wasn't allowed there anymore. So they rezoned it, moved him out. So he moved locations, costing a bunch more money. And then at this new location, they decided, a couple of years later that they needed the building and area for government purposes. So they eminent domained his landlord, bought it out from under him, and kicked him out. So he moved to a new location for the third time, and he unfortunately got sick. And so his business suffered because he couldn't concentrate on it. Then he got better, and his kid got sick, and so he couldn't concentrate on it more. So really, after all of this just piss poor luck and disastrous occurrences, he is probably in the top 10 of my most successful clients to date. He's business crushes, his margins are huge, and he just didn't give up after every step back. At every time that something bad happened, it would have been real easy for him to give up, but he just kept powering through. So from start to now is about 10 years, and he is extremely successful.
Wow, that is a great story. Because
it's just a little bit of resilience. I wish I could give more details, but it was just a little bit of a resilience, factor. He just kept going. Every time he got kicked back, he took 2 steps forward, and he ended up being very successful.
That really is a great story, and it does illustrate, the adage of, like success is what, 99% perspiration,
yeah,
1% inspiration.
Yeah.
If you believe in what you're doing, you know that you've got a good service or a good product. I think that makes it easier to push through those things. And that really is an impressive story to hear. So,
well, to me, it makes me feel bad because I don't have any more excuses for not doing things. So,
well,
he got kicked in the teeth about a half dozen times and still kept on moving forward. So,
right. I mean, guys like that that's the inspiration that we look for. So I think it's pretty cool. I wonder in that story though. You said the city decided they didn't like what he was doing, so they rezoned it. Is that something that he feels that way, or was it like literally the city said we're just gonna told him
he was
we're gonna rezone it?
He was in an area that went into like a little bit of a revitalization, and so they wanted specific businesses and sales tax. So it didn't fit with their model. So it's not like they just kicked him out mid-lease. Obviously, you can't do that. But he had a short lease, and so at the end of his lease, it was not renewed.
Oh, I see.
So that's how that went. And same thing when he got eminent domain at his other place. He didn't own the building. The landlord did. The landlord sold, probably at a nice, tidy profit, and then they just didn't allow him to renew his lease.
Does he own the
He now does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he finally got enough money where he could buy it, and he's never leaving, I'm assuming. So.
Well, that's a fantastic story.
Mm-hmm.
So that is great. Now I've totally forgot what mine was.
I don't know, man. Do you have a good impressive story? Somebody impress you?
Let me see. What do I have? Sure. I'll tell you the story about the hot dog man.
The hot dog man?
The hot dog man.
All right.
So
I already like where this is going because hot dog carts are surprisingly profitable.
Well, one of my customers was he lived in California, and he was he literally had a hot dog cart, and that's what he called himself, was the hot dog man. And from what I understand, he was one of those hot dog mans that was entertaining on the corner.
Yeah.
And he did well enough with that he could afford to move across the country. He wanted to go to a little bit more of a country living, a little bit cheaper area. He went and he ended up having to take a job as a car salesman, and he still does that, by the way. And he's the top salesman in his region. But more importantly, he decided that he wanted to go into the wood business for pool cue makers, and now that can be a pretty hefty investment, right? Because you have to buy the wood, you have to find it, you have to grade it, you have to make sure it's good. You don't want to send people stuff that splits. There's a lot of handling that goes with that. Some of the wood is actually poisonous, if it's not handled right.
What kind of wood is the dust?
Cocobolo, for example. If you're spinning cocobolo and you're sanding it or you're cutting it, you do not want to breathe in cocobolo fumes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
But he decided, hey, I think that there's a business here for me. and he started doing it, and he went from literally a corner of his bedroom, spending most of his money that he was making, outside of what the bare minimum they needed to keep his family going from the job selling Hondas. He invested every little bit extra he had into building up his wood supplies, and now he's one of the premier suppliers of wood to cue makers and pen makers and knife makers, because they really trust his wood. I want to say that I'll take a tiny little bit of credit for inspiring him to do live sales of his wood.
Yeah.
So
you're pretty
he
big on
actually,
those.
he actually does it like every week, sometimes twice a week. He'll do like a live sale of his wood where he'll present it, and he'll hold it up like QVC style, and he'll spray it down with water so they can see how beautiful the wood is. And he sells a ton of wood that way. And
Selling wood.
so I am
The hot dog man,
Yep.
car salesman, and wood salesman.
Yep. So that's my buddy Jesse, and he's done a really good job of it. And I'm embarrassed that I won't be able to tell you the exact name of his company right now, but
We'll look it up and make sure
but
it's
we
in the
will
deal.
look it up and put it in the comments, so that everybody has it, in case any knife makers or cue makers are watching that don't already know him, which I'm pretty sure they all already know him.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of pitch that was to his wife. I feel like I'm impressed with her. Husband comes like, I'm going to buy a bunch of wood and we're going to see how this goes.
Well, I mean, he's a really good dude, and I think that he's one of those people that could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah, those guys are just incredible at what they do. I
pretty-
really lack that skill.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure his wife knew what she was getting into when she got with him in the first place. So,
all right, fair enough. Fair enough.
But I thought that was pretty impressive to go from hot dogs to one of the premier sellers of high-end exotic wood in the country.
Don't discount the old hot dog guys. If you've got an impressive one and you're entertaining, you can make some money. I've seen some financials on guys who do that down at the bars and stuff. They make a lot of money. It's wild.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, any final thoughts for this episode?
Nope, don't have any.
All right, man.
Just be loyal to to Turtlesmith.
Yeah. There you go. Maybe we need a loyalty program for Turtlesmith. No. All right. Well, we'll catch you next week.
All right, you guys take care.